Hey, Sarah, welcome to Marketing Masters.
Hey David, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. And, I'm so glad to have you on the show. So let's dive right in. So, can you tell us a little bit about your agency and yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, my company is called SQL Creative Strategy. We are a primarily full service marketing agency. We specialize in digital marketing for early stage and small to medium sized businesses. So, we do a lot of different work around growth stage and really helping our clients to basically get them from wherever they are to where they want to be. And a lot of the work that we do is with startups and businesses who are in that like younger phase. So they haven't quite, grown to where they want to be. I started this business when I started doing some freelance social media management about 10 years ago or so, which feels like, oh my God, 10 years. But I have a pretty different background than a lot of my other marketing colleagues. I studied finance and I had a really strong interest in the arts. And I kind of was able to merge those two and come into marketing when I realized that a lot of these artists that I was working with were struggling to reach their audiences. They were doing all of this really amazing work and they just weren't reaching people. They weren't getting people to come out to shows. They weren't getting people to buy music. And buying music is kind of a whole thing that doesn't really happen anymore either, but they were not able to really change their marketing or evolve their way of thinking about bringing in revenue. And I saw an opportunity to help with that. And that kind of from that emerged my love of marketing and storytelling and social media.
Love it, love it, love it. So now kind of going back, so you've had this agency for what, 10 years?
Yeah, I started freelancing and then about
Mhm.
5 or 6 years ago, I started offering more services and bringing
Mm.
in team members to help execute on those services. So
Nice. Did you start off with like artists, or was there like a particular group that you started with?
yeah, I was working with musicians, primarily jazz musicians. So I'm Philly based, but I was like traveling to New York to like help my clients and support my clients and work in music. I used to do a lot of concert production as well. And there's obviously a huge opportunity with marketing concerts.
Okay, very cool. So in the beginning, when you said you were like traveling to meet with them, what was that like?
It was taxing. I would say this is probably one of the reasons that I don't work with musicians as much anymore is because, well, I feel like this applies to a lot of the work that I do now with clients is that it's kind of like with the smaller businesses, you're trying to convince them that they need to do social media. It can be hard because social media is only one piece of the puzzle. So
Mm,
to spend a lot of your budget on just social media when you need all of these other things as well can be a
mhm.
really difficult kind of ask for someone. And a lot of times it doesn't make sense, which is why I put together the membership offer that we had discussed about. And I can elaborate on that too. But
Yeah.
working with these musicians made me realize that there is this huge gap in like education and knowledge in marketing as well. And really made me want to offer more services so that I could provide more of a like whole picture to people and help them to better market themselves.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that piece. If you don't mind, let's dig a little deeper on, okay, what, especially in the beginning, right? Okay, you're it's like New York, right? You're going to New York, talking to jazz musicians, and what were some of the challenges of like, okay, were they not getting social media? Were they like, hey, I just want to go play at the concerts, do my gigs, right? Like, what are you talking about? Digital marketing. What were some of the challenges with this particular, I think, situation?
Yeah, I definitely think that a big piece of it was that education. There are a lot of younger jazz musicians as well, and there's, a really pretty robust jazz community that I think a lot of people don't really realize. But a big piece of it is around education. And a lot of musicians, like you said, they don't really want to focus on like the promotion as much. They really want to focus on their craft, like they're artists at heart. And
Yeah.
to tell them that they have to promote themselves, spend money to promote themselves, it kind of goes against the grain of like what they believe in,
Yeah.
of what they're doing,
Yeah.
art just for the sake of art. And so, there were just definitely like a few challenges in there. There are some
Yeah.
musicians that I've met who are like way more business savvy, who I've seen,
Yeah.
really promote themselves and extend their career and, get contracts to work with these like major
Yeah.
studios and on motion pictures and things like that. But
Yeah.
it's also really competitive in the space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's just a lot of I think like conflicting ideas and a little bit of a lack of education,
Yeah.
which, to the fault of, not to the fault of anyone in particular, but yeah, I think that was
This,
definitely like the biggest challenge is the lack of education around it.
okay. Okay. This probably comes a little bit like, I wouldn't say offensive, but it irks people a little bit. Like I
Hmm.
remember I was, I was like just briefly in jazz band when I was in school, and people that are in the jazz community do not like Kenny G. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
They
they're like,
don't.
oh my God, he's not a real jazz musician, right? But you know
Hmm.
what he did really well? I mean, when I was growing up and just hearing him, he was a really good marketer, and he was able to
Hmm.
market his brand, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he played the type of music that the mainstream, audience likes, right? Is
Yeah.
that type of music.
Yeah.
But and that's what I've seen, is that you have people that really want to focus on just purely their craft, but they're lacking the pieces of promotion and marketing. I definitely do see that.
Yeah.
So how did you make that pivot? I mean, so you just started your agency, you met with jazz musicians, and they're lacking education. What happened then? I mean, you had to make ends meet, right? You got to cover your bills. They're not working out. So what was the next step?
Yeah, so I wanted to learn more about marketing and the industry and other types of avenues because I saw this opportunity to do more than just social. This was all the time when like businesses were just starting to realize that they needed to use social media for like business purposes, that it wasn't just like for fun. And so I started doing some work with other agencies, freelancing with them, and really learning a lot about the different platforms and email marketing and just marketing operations in general, really working to get that foundation. I probably worked with like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 different agencies over the course of like me freelancing during that
Mhm.
time. But it was hard to pivot from music because it was really like one of my first passions and a passion that I had had since I was a kid.
Mhm.
And it was hard to let that go. But after a certain point, I was feeling really burned out. And a lot of musicians and music organizations, they don't really have a significant budget for marketing as well. So that was part of the burnout too. I was really looking for an opportunity that I felt like I could really show up in the way that I wanted to, support the kind of people that I wanted to, really see where my career could take me from there.
So Sarah, so after working with these jazz musicians and kind of finding out it wasn't a good fit, what did you do after that? How did you pivot from that?
So I was feeling really burned out from working in music, and I really was struggling to feel like the work that I was doing was meaningful in the way that I wanted it to be meaningful and impactful. And so I sought out freelance roles with other agencies so that I could learn and grow my skill set as well. And also just work in a team environment because sometimes working by yourself can be really isolating and lonely. And it was definitely a difficult transition. And it was hard for me to go from this one like industry and community where I had already built a name for myself and people knew me and people would reach out to me. There's a lot of referrals to going into this unknown of like, what industry do I even want to be working in? Like, what kind of marketing work do I want to do? Do I even want to still do marketing work? It was definitely a lot of trial and error to really identify the kinds of clients that I wanted to be working with, the kinds of services that I wanted to be providing, the way in which I wanted to work, like how I first saw my growth. And it was really just a grind to go from, one industry to another.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure there's plenty of others out there that are going through the exact same thing you're going through. Like, man, I've I put in like sweat and tears, all this time into it, into building this community and this work, but I just know that that's not the right direction. So what advice would you give that individual?
I would say don't be afraid to try new things and don't be afraid to try something even if you think that you're not going to like it, because at the end of the day, it's all about that trial and error, and you won't know what you're going to really like if you also don't know what you really don't like to do.
Love it. Love it. As a freelancer working with agencies, what was that dynamic like?
I really like working with agencies, and I still work with agencies from time to time when they need like additional backfill support, or they need like higher level strategy for their team, or they're missing like a specific like kind of skill set in marketing. But I really liked working with agencies because I got to learn a lot and I got to work with different people after being kind of like isolated working by myself
Mhm.
for so long. It was just really, really nice to work with other people and
Yeah.
people who were smarter than me and who had been doing this for longer. And
Mhm.
it really is a big difference in the way that freelancers work versus like larger agencies. There's some larger agencies lean a little bit more corporate. And so I got that kind of experience. Some are a little bit more like, we're not micromanaging you at all. Here are the deliverables, like get it done. And so it was really interesting to see that difference in the different types of agencies that I was working with.
Love it. Love it. And there's two perspectives here. So let's say for the freelancers that are listening in on the show, like how did you find these agencies to work with?
Yeah, that's always the million dollar question, right? It takes a lot of work to find agencies that are willing to even have a conversation with you. So for me, it was really a numbers game. One of the first agencies that I worked with was actually a referral from a past client whose friend owned an agency. So in that way, because I had done good work for her in the past, she was able to refer me to someone else. So asking for those referrals, I think, is something that a lot of people don't even think to do. It's like, hey, you worked with this
Yeah.
client, you had a great experience, like ask them for a referral. Like, can you
Mm,
connect me with someone in your network that needs this kind of service or support, or who may need it in the foreseeable future?
yeah.
Like that's a huge way to grow your network and your client base, is just to
Yeah.
ask.
So that one client that gave you that referral to the agency, were you providing a particular type of service? Like, was it just social media? Was it something, or was it just pretty broad?
Yeah, I was doing social media management for
Oh,
this agency. Yeah.
okay. And then basically, the client that you're working with were able to refer you to this other agency and show off, like, hey, this is the social media pieces that Sarah has done for me, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. And
great.
the agency that I started working with then referred me to other clients. Working with all these agencies and these other clients like gave me the opportunity to offer other services that I had maybe only done like a few other times, or in like a partial like capacity, to offer those services at a little bit of a discounted rate, and to
Yeah,
then start to grow my portfolio and say like, hey, look, I can do these other things that aren't just social media.
yeah. So now let's look at it from the other perspective as a agency, like, okay, there are options, right? Why did the agency hire you instead of, okay, well, they could bring it in-house, they could hire other freelancers, they could hire another agency that offer a small, that offers this particular social media piece of the service. So what was your differentiator? What made them decide to bring you on?
So it's funny that you asked that question, because I had actually asked them this question because we hadn't ever worked together, and they brought me in on quite a large account. And they had told me that one of the like decks that I had sent over that I had done before, they were really impressed with, and it was actually a social media strategy deck. But you bring up a really good point that agencies are often taking a risk when it comes to freelancers, because it's not somebody that's going to be working in the same capacity as a lot of their team members. There are agencies that I work with that operate just with contractors and freelancers. That's their model. That's my current model. There's nothing wrong with that model. Sometimes you're just like not set up for it, and employees can be really expensive. But, being able to show the work that you've done can be really helpful. Having that referral or even a testimonial from a past client can help you really to like get a leg up when it comes to getting the gig, really.
Love it. This is gold. This is gold. Like I just want to just reiterate that how important it is, right? Of course, I mean, it's a no-brainer, but do good work, right? But not just
Right.
do good work, but that work has to be presented really well. And it's so, and of course, asking for that referral. And then with that work, just showing other agencies to kind of build that trust. Like, hey, yeah, not only was it referred by someone we know, but also this work is good, right? It's really impressive. One thing that you didn't mention, but it's kind of indirectly, is that you're able to do that great work because you're working on social media. Like this one particular piece of service is not like you're doing, oh yeah, I was I don't know, maybe you were like doing jazz gigs on the side or doing like other offerings like services. I'm not saying you can't have hobbies, but from an offering standpoint, you were really niche down in that particular service. Am I correct? During that
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Yeah. And this is something that I think a lot of people may not think about, is that when you're trying to grow your business, even if you don't want to expand into more services, really honing in on what you offer and making it really clear that this is what you do well is a really, really good starting point to getting people to hire you. Like if you can explicitly say, these are the service offerings that I do, these are the clients that I've worked with, here are the testimonials, like it's easier for you to close that more like cold or like warm-ish lead. Because I think that a lot of businesses and business owners, they sometimes struggle with hiring for marketing because there is a little bit of like a lack of trust. Because there's a lot of people in marketing that just don't do great work, quite frankly. I've had a lot of clients come to me who have, really struggled with their past marketing, either agency hire or in-house hire. And so being able to build that trust by saying, this is what I can do for you, these are the people that I've done it for, is really, really helpful.
You're absolutely right. Well, the way I look at it, it's like instead of going wide, you go deep, right? It's like if let's say you had you're getting 10 testimonials, right? And one company offers, both companies offer 10 testimonials, but one company offers multiple services. So their testimonials are kind of like spread throughout different types of services, and it's not really focused. And then you have this other company where all 10 testimonials is strictly, let's say in your case, like social media, right? Like now just looking at that, if I was a agency or even a business, right? Any type of business, if I'm looking for social media help, I'm going to go with the second one, right? And the second one will also be more profitable, most likely will be more profitable and laser focused, and they're able to scale much easier because they're so laser focused in that one piece.
Right.
So yeah, you're very smart to do that, especially all the way in the beginning, because I sure did not do that. I was like, oh hey, whatever, do everything under the sun. So now let's move to the present. So what is going on today? You mentioned about membership programs. So tell us a little bit about that, like what is that and how did it get started, and what are your plans for that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm actually so excited that you asked this because I have been really sitting on this offer for a while and finally decided to create and launch it earlier this year. It's called the Social Media Vault, and it's a social media membership. It's aimed at early stage and small businesses. And the reason that I decided to put it together was because I had a lot of small business owners in my network coming to me and saying, hey, I really need help with social media. Please, like I am drowning. I don't know how to do it. Like I'm not, like social media is not my zone of genius. Like I'm a lawyer, I'm a therapist, I'm working on developing my product. Like I'm an engineer and I can't, focus on social. And I would ask them, okay, like what kind of budget do you have? Like obviously I want to help you. And often their budgets were so low that the only thing that I could really do was offer some sort of consulting, or I don't know, something that just wasn't going to be a good, like long-term sustainable offer for them. And for me, I like to work with my clients in a way that is going to provide real impact for them. And I didn't want to take the money away from the small businesses like livelihood and like operations just to do like a singular strategy session that they still wouldn't be able to execute on their own. And so I went looking for something to send to them to be like, hey, this might be something to hold you over in the meantime. And I couldn't really find anything that was like more than a glorified Facebook group, essentially.
Mm,
And so with the social media vault, you get a 30-day content plan with all of your content ideas and prompts. Every
mm,
single month, you get trending hashtags for your industry that are updated every month. You get trending audio and video report every single month for TikTok and Instagram specifically, which
uh,
includes examples, how to use guides, licensing notes, which is something that most small business owners are not thinking about. Get unlimited support through the portal from our team, and we also do weekly accountability check-ins. So
um,
you're getting all of this like agency level support for $97 a month. And the price point has been created that low in a very intentional way because I want this to be accessible. The members still have to create the content, but it
mm,
essentially takes out all of that ideation, all of that research, all of that overwhelm and wasted time. And
yeah,
you can just pull the content prompts and ideas from the calendar, put your content together and hit send. It doesn't have to be something that's, planned out 2 weeks in advance, although we have members that do that, but it's just a tool that didn't exist. I knew that there was a need for it with this group.
okay. Yeah, you mentioned a few channels here. Like, what channels would you primarily cover?
Yeah, so this is probably be best for like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also probably use it for Twitter as well. The content is created very industry agnostic. So we use the same kinds of like prompting questions that we use for our like done for you service social
Mm,
clients. And we
okay.
also include prompts in there that we try to like help people understand the full picture of marketing too. So we'll
Yeah.
include prompts that are like, remind people to sign up for your email list, right? Because a lot of
Mm,
people don't understand that they don't own their social media platforms. And
yeah.
if some intern at Meta decides to like hit delete on your account by
Hmm.
accident, like they don't have to give it back to you. So you could
Yeah.
spend all of this time growing your social media for it to be gone in an instance, or you could accidentally violate the terms of service, right? Like we've seen it
Yeah.
happen where, or you could get hacked, right? Like there's a million things that could happen and go
Yeah. You
wrong.
don't control these
Exactly. You don't
platforms.
control it, you don't own it. And so
Hmm.
we make sure to include these kinds of CTAs in there and like really try to help people understand these other pieces that they need to be like folding into their marketing efforts. Even if you're
Yeah.
not emailing people, just collect the list. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
just like get
exactly.
people on there.
Yeah. Now, do you offer like templates to kind of work off of, or examples of this is what a CTA should look like, or this is what a certain post should look like? Or is the prompt more of the contextual content of this is the content you should be putting on on the social media post?
Yeah, it's more conceptual because we wanted to apply to a variety of different industries. Our weekly accountability check ins, we have been sharing examples of how members can utilize the different prompt, but it's pretty straightforward. It'll be like, share, 3 things that people need to know before working with you, right?
Mm,
Or things like that. So it can be applied to a variety of different industries. And
yeah.
the way that we create these content ideas for each day is that we really think of it as creating problem aware content so that it's
Mm,
not just all about you and what you do.
yeah.
You are still providing value to
Yeah.
your end user, which will help with reach, it will help with engagement. So that piece I think is really important to note.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to sidetrack too much, but on that note, what would you say would be a good ratio of sharing like value added content versus like, hey, this is what we offer. This is the product, this is
Yeah.
the service on social media.
Yeah, usually I recommend, especially if you have a new account or you're new in business or you're like just starting and you're feeling overwhelmed with social, is to start with like a 90-10. So, like
Mm,
90% of the content
yeah.
should be like providing value and 10% should be telling people to like purchase from you. Obviously,
Yeah.
this varies depending on your industry. If
Yeah.
you're more product focused, it might make more sense to lean a little bit more into the CTAs, or it might
Mhm,
just feel more natural to do that as well.
mhm.
But social media is all about building relationships. And if
Yeah.
you are posting on social every day, like, hire me, this is what I do, blah, 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 people are not going to be interested. They're just going to tune you out.
Yeah.
Like, they really are not going to like listen. They're not going to tune in. Your engagement's going to drop. Like, it's just not a great start
Yeah.
to, especially if you have a new account, right? So I find a lot of people are frustrated. They're like, why aren't I, getting any new clients from social, or why aren't people even engaging with me? And I look at their content and it's just like, this is what I do, like learn about trademarks, like, and it's just not that, it's not really, you're not answering people's like burning questions,
Yeah.
and people want that information, like give it away. It's not something that they're not going to be able to find on another account of someone who does the same offer as you, right? Yeah.
There was I think I just saw it recently on someone was talking about it on YouTube, but there was a TikToker. I just pulled it up. I think his name's Nathan. He was just doing a video holding a bottle of ocean spray. You may have heard of this, but he was holding a bottle of ocean spray on his skateboard, filming him drinking ocean spray. It sold out. Like it made it that video went viral, and Ocean Spray, the company, they sold out in all the grocery stores. Just because of that one video, just like, right? Like, it did not try to sell the product. It was just some guy drinking, carrying a whole bottle of ocean spray. I think it was like a cranberry juice, essentially, just drinking on a skateboard.
This is a great example of something that I tell my clients is to help with social, is like help your target audience envision how they're going to feel and like who they are going to be when they utilize and receive your service and product, right? So like that's a perfect example of that. It wasn't like really even an advertisement. It doesn't sound like, it sounds like he literally just posted this video and people were like, wow, I can really envision myself like being this cool on a skateboard with ocean spray. So like now I gotta go have it.
Yep. It was, to be exact, it was him. It was longboarding to work while chugging ocean spray juice and dreamily lip syncing to Fleetwood Mac's Dreams.
Love it. Amazing.
that was the video. So you get a chance, Google it. It's hilarious. So
amazing. I love it.
How a video like that could completely, change it, but also the company really, take advantage of that opportunity, right? It's like a wave. So
yeah, people do not want to be sold to, they just don't. If you're trying to sell them, they're going to be like, ah.
Yes, for sure. And now so when did your program start?
So we launched it in April. And we launched it on another platform, and then we recently switched it to Kajabi, which is a way more robust platform, a lot more user friendly. And we made that switch like late last month, maybe even early or this month. So we're really excited about it. Yeah, it's just a much better user experience. We're able to provide that like accountability and one-to-one support that we weren't able to in the previous kind of platform that we were using. So we're able to even give more value for the price. Yeah.
Are you able to share some numbers and like engagement and how the community is doing currently? Yeah.
So we have, I know for a fact that we have one member they're using it in conjunction with their current team. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but they are an interior design firm and they have been sharing like TikToks a lot more recently now that they have this like ideation piece like taken off their plate, and they have been growing really significantly on TikTok. They've been reaching a ton more people, and it's really unlocked this growth potential for the company because the owner had told me that, she wants to expand to outside of the region that she's working in. She wants to do more traveling. And, one of the things that we talked about was like, you need to be able to increase your reach on social to other geographical locations, right? And so now they're able to do that and they're starting to grow. They're starting to see those inquiries come in from other places. And that's really exciting. And, they're a small business and we like just love that we're able to support them in that way.
Yeah. And they're just doing TikTok.
They're doing TikTok and Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What strategies have worked pretty well for you as an agency?
Like in terms of social?
Yeah, social, or just not just in terms of just social, just like running your agency, what has worked, what has not worked. I try to, like for me, it's like I believe it or not, I even tried like cold calling, like physically pick up the phone, calling, or or doing cold drop-ins, it did not work, right? Maybe I didn't
Yeah.
do it enough, right? But that was my
Yeah.
personal experience. What has
Yeah.
worked for you, or what hasn't worked at all?
So well, this is a very loaded question because I've tried like so many things. So, for me, I feel, and I've heard this from a lot of other people who are in marketing, and maybe you feel this yourself, but referrals are obviously always the best way
Of course.
to get new business. And
Yeah.
my business was like completely referral based for a long
Mhm.
time. Now that we are growing, we're expanding, we're looking to bring in clients from other sources. And obviously, social media is a huge way that we do that. So we primarily prioritize like LinkedIn right now and some Instagram. We also prioritize email. Email marketing has been a really good lead source for us that
Yeah.
we hadn't been really utilizing before, just because, well, one, we didn't really need to, and two, we didn't really have a big list. So
Yeah.
putting together a freebie that is really exciting for people to sign up for, sharing that across social platforms, sending consistent emails, like at least one a week, which a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, oh my gosh, that's so many emails. And it is, and it
Mhm.
requires a lot of brain power, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting people into our pipeline in that way. Something that works for us, regardless of whether we're executing on marketing for clients or we're trying to bring in new business, is really remaining authentic and
Mhm.
working with clients to show them how they can get to their goals in like a realistic manner, because a lot of people have a misunderstanding about marketing and what it can do for them, and they think that marketing is going to make them go viral in like a matter of like
Mhm.
2 days flat, right? And so
Mhm.
adjusting those expectations and saying, hey, like, we need to start with at least some sort of foundation. Like, we need to understand, what are your metrics now, right? Because you can't
Yeah.
go from engaging like 4 people to engaging 4 million people, right? Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
can happen,
Mm.
but if you have 4 million people who view your content or engage with your content, but none of them are your target audience and none of them have the need for what you offer, then you might as well be talking to zero, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so really helping clients to understand that, and also trying to remind ourselves of that too, because
Yeah.
sometimes when you're so in it, it's hard to see. But I think that's always a really strong takeaway that I try to, implement when I have these conversations with clients, especially in the
Yeah.
beginning. It's like, it's more impactful if you have a true engaged community and you're able to build relationships than it
Yeah.
is to go viral.
Yeah, exactly. Here's another way I've been thinking about it. And here's easy exercise. Find the biggest influencers, the biggest YouTubers. All right, go on their channel and sort it by date. Sort it by the oldest. Look at the original videos. Look at the original posts. Look at where they came from, and not just months, but years ago when they
Right.
first started. Right. So it's like hard for someone that's like, oh yeah, I want to make it big, in that mindset of like, I'm gonna go viral, I'm gonna be this crazy influencer, right? This YouTuber, but you're only comparing now of their success, but you're not comparing where they came from, and that's kind of where they're at right now today,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then going viral, it's like winning the lottery in a sense. I mean, some people know the magic, right? The algorithm to like win the lottery every time. But also look at the statistics of people winning the lottery, right?
Hmm.
How many of those individuals will stay rich, right? Stay wealthy with all that money from the lottery? Very
Hmm.
small percentage do. So in a way where going viral can be a dangerous thing if you're not ready for it, right?
Right. Yes,
But it could
exactly.
be like, it's like the one hit wonder, for the songs,
Hmm.
right? Music, like, okay, well, I got
Totally.
one great song. I mean, some people do pretty well, they get royalties, right? They
Right.
worked out a really good contract. Or
Hmm.
others are like, well, that's my 5 seconds of fame, right? And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, as a business owner, you don't want that, because you want to see the growth over time, right? You don't just want to
Yeah.
make, X amount of money in like June and then make no other money throughout the year,
Yeah.
like, unless you have a seasonal business, but most people don't have a seasonal business.
Yeah, yeah. You want to create as much stability and ability to scale your business
Hmm.
the best you can, and not just for yourself. If you have team members, if you
Yeah.
have, I mean, family, it's your duty is your job. One of your main jobs is to create that stability.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you see in the future? Where do you see agencies going towards? Where do you see your agency moving towards?
That's a great question. I was actually just thinking about this the other day when I was working on a proposal and really trying to identify, what is different about our agency structure. And what we really do that I think is a little bit different is that we act as an embedded team of the client. So we don't just come in, like ask some questions, like leave, and then come back 3 months later with like
Mhm.
PowerPoint presentation, right? Like we're not just coming in and consulting. We're actually executing
Yeah.
on the work. We are growing with the client, right? And this is how I feel a lot of agencies should be operating, is that they should be
Hmm.
more involved in the process.
Yeah.
We've even helped our clients to like build and develop and train like their marketing teams, and
Mm.
build out their like
Right.
social processes and things like that, because we were able to identify that this was a need that they had, right? Because we were working
Yeah.
so closely with them. And so we were able to come to the table and say, hey, we have this great relationship. And I want to let you know that if you want to continue to grow, like you have to fix these cracks in the road before you pave
Hmm.
right over it, right?
Yeah, love that, love that. And just thinking about like if you're able to offer all this value, like let me, like, are your students able to reach out to you and the other trainers on your team anytime,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
talk to you, right? I mean, for $97 a month, that's a really good deal. I mean, just
Yeah.
just like for an agency, like we bill 175 an hour, and
Hmm.
that's less, that's way less than that. But you're able to do that because of the scale, right? Because you're doing it in
Hmm.
group settings. So yeah, I
Right.
definitely, yeah, see a lot of value in that. I see the
Thank you.
direction in what agencies are moving towards, because like there's this thing called so I follow Alex Hormozy. He talks about like in one of his videos like the agency trap, and I don't think agencies intend to do this. It just happens where, okay, well, it's not in alignment where the agency, their goal is, okay, we want to keep our maximize our lifetime value of a customer,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that, well, if they're not providing enough value to that customer over time, then it becomes that agency for that business, it becomes a liability, right? It's just like
Hmm. Yeah.
way more expenses than necessary. Or if that agency keeps increasing the price because maybe they see, oh yeah, this client is making more money, we should increase our pricing because of the extra value that we're offering. Well,
Right.
then the it doesn't help the business
Right.
really scale. So I do see that it's more so the business themselves needing to learn, but are they at the right stage, right? They might
Right.
be learning a new skill, they're completely new, they need help, their team needs help, and your training, your course will really help with that,
Yeah.
until they maybe need more of a white glove service, or they might just have the team to scale out. And for you, you've already succeeded in helping them, and they're going to refer you to some more
Hmm.
clients, and you're able to scale that way too. So yeah, I see agencies offering multiple options
Yeah.
to help businesses grow.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah,
agree.
very good. So let's move right into the rapid fire questions. All right.
Oh
So
boy.
I'm gonna ask you a few questions, just top of your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First thing you do when you wake up in the morning.
Oh, check my phone, which I shouldn't. Primarily my email.
Yeah, I did. I did. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
Book. What book are you currently reading?
I am reading Braiding Sweetgrass.
What is your favorite social media platform for business?
Probably LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. I know it's supposed to be rapid fire, but I also like TikTok for business.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh man, on the spot with the best piece of advice I've ever received is probably to start small and grow. It's a very underrated piece of advice.
And what? Oh, if you weren't running an agency, what would you be doing?
I would probably still be working in music.
Um, let's see. What's the best part about running an agency?
I would say the impact that we get to have on clients and their businesses.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you. What? So any advice for our listeners based on, what we discussed today?
Yeah, I would say that if you're just starting out or you're looking to make a change with your business or your career, is to just be persistent and don't be afraid to try new things, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Actually, probably some of the best advice that I ever received was from a mentor of mine who said that, most entrepreneurs fail because they didn't stick it out long enough. And I definitely find that to be true because there have been so many times where I am like, this is just dragging on and like when is that light at the end of the tunnel going to start to even like get closer, and then all of a sudden it does. So really sticking to your guns and what you believe in, not being afraid to like learn new things, make tweaks, try new things. I think that would be my piece of advice.
Love it. And then how can our listeners find you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Sarah Q Leonard. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Sarah Leonard, or you can email me at sarah@sqlcreativestrategy.com.
Awesome. And for those that are listening or maybe driving, don't worry, it'll be in the show notes. It'll be down below. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. And it's a ton of golden nuggets here. And I'm sure the audience has gotten some value from this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye.